I was raised in a house where silence was more than just golden, it was survival. My mother used to whisper the same thing to me every night before bed. Don't make a noise, no matter what you hear. At first, I thought it was some kind of bedtime superstition, the kind of thing parents say to their kids to be quiet at night. But the way she said it, the urgency in her trembling voice, made me believe it was more than that. We lived in an old farmhouse, miles away from town, the kind of place where sound carried forever, where the faintest creak of a floorboard seemed loud enough to wake the dead. And maybe it did. One night, when I was 10, I tested her warning. I couldn't sleep, so I tapped the side of my bed frame with my fingernail. Just once. It wasn't loud, barely audible, but within seconds, the hallway outside my door shifted. The air pressed heavy, like something was leaning against the walls, listening. Then came the sound. Nails dragging along the wood floor. Slow, deliberate, hungry. I froze, my lungs burning as I tried not to breathe out loud. The scratching stopped, but in the silence that followed, I heard the faintest whisper, not outside, but inside. As I grew older, the rules became clear. Never drop a dish. Never slam a door. Never laugh too loud. Because noise wasn't just noise in our house. It was a beacon, a signal. I learned quickly that things in the house weren't just listening. It was waiting. My mother and father never explained it outright, but I noticed the fear itched in their faces. I noticed how we moved through the house like shadows, careful, cautious, and always quiet. We weren't just living there. We were hiding in our own house. The night my father broke the rules is one that still haunts me. That dad had a bad back. He slipped while going down the stairs that night and let out a blood-curdling scream of pain. The house answered instantly. From the walls, from the ceiling, from the darkness itself, came a rush of movements. A storm of whispers, of claws, of footsteps that weren't human. I saw shadows drifting across the ceiling. Saw something long and thin crawl down from the wall like a spider. Its face stretched into a grin that was wide, too wide. By the time my mother pulled me into the closet and pressed her hand over my mouth, my father's scream had stopped. But the wet sounds didn't. And it went on for a few minutes, until finally it went silent. After that, it was just me and my mother. She was broken, always trembling, always praying under her breath. She told me the creatures weren't ghosts. They weren't demons either. They were listeners. They live in the quiet, he whispered once, and they hunt what disturbs it. But I noticed something she didn't. The older I got, the more they seemed interested in me. When I shifted in bed, I'd hear my name whispered from the walls. When I let out the smallest cough, something would move just beyond the doorway. It was like the house itself was waiting for me to slip. One night, I woke to my mother crying in the corner of my room, rocking back and forth. She looked at me with wild eyes and said, I can't keep quiet anymore. I can't. Before I could stop her, she began to hum a broken, desperate lullaby. The house erupted. The walls pulsed with movement. Shadows spilled across the ceiling. The air filled with shrieks. Inhuman, guttural, furious. I ran under the bed, biting my hand to keep from screaming. And from the cracks, I saw them take her, long fingers wrapping around her body, dragging her into the walls like the house itself swallowed her whole. The last thing I saw was her face, mouth opened in a silent scream. Before she was gone, I was alone now. But in that silence, I began to understand the truth. The house wasn't haunted. It was alive. Every floorboard was a rib. Every wall was a lung. And it breathed in silence, waiting for us to make a noise so it could feed. The listeners weren't separate things. They were its nerves, its immune system, its teeth. And I was trapped inside it. I tried to survive for as long as I could. I tried to be perfect, as quiet as possible. But one night, I ended up dropping a glass. The sound of shattering was like a death sentence. Instantly, the lights flickered, the walls shuddered, and the whispers rose like a chorus.
We see you.
They came crawling out of the vents, the ceiling, the cracks in the floor. Dozens of them, all screaming, all twitching towards me with grotesque hunger. I ran even though my footsteps betrayed me, even though every board I hit was another scream into their world, and they followed me closely. I found myself in a crawl space beneath the house, where the smell of a rot was unbearable. It was dark, tight, suffocating, but I had nowhere else to go. I pressed my hand over my mouth, trying to muffle my breath. Above me, I could hear them moving, whispering my name, dragging claws against the floorboards. Then silence. For a moment, I thought I'd lost them, until I felt a breath against my ear.
Don't make a sound.
I don't know how long I've been down here. Days, weeks. Time doesn't mean anything anymore. I can't move. I can't risk it. Because they're still here. They're always here. I hear them shifting in the dark, waiting for me to slip again. The hunger in their whispers never stop. And I know one day I'll break. One day I'll cough, or sob, or scream. And when I do, the silence will end. So if you're hearing this, remember what my mother said. Don't make a sound.